Alright, here we go. Going live. Excellent connection. It looks like it's about a 7-second delay, possibly. Yep, there we are. Oh, okay. Well, here we are, guys. Welcome to the first inaugural episode of Action Surge. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to close this door so I don't get too interrupted. And I am going to give you guys a quick run through on Roll20 and how it works. So let me adjust camera 1 here to be Roll20. I am new to live streaming on YouTube, and I'm new to OBS software, so you might have to bear with me a little bit. And here we go. So these are some games I've got set up already. But what I want to do is, once you're logged in, I want you to go to create a new game, and then of course it'll create a new game, and we'll call this Action Surge demo game. So that's a Action Surge demo, and I'm ready. Create game. Now this is basically going to be set up for D&D 5e. Right here you can choose a file for your your opening graphic, and it'll just take a second to upload there. I might have picked something that was too big. I don't know. It looks okay. And then it will, once it uploads, one of the things you want to do here is go to game add-ons, and if you have any game add-ons, this is where you would add them all, like here. So I don't know if it would be better to start with a game add-on, but let me do tactical maps reincarnated, wilderness maps, and then that will give you an idea of some things. Okay, and then I'm going to show you also how to add your own maps too. But okay, so this is a graphic I made in Incarnate. But so then you just go to launch game, and this is basically a blank map here. So with what I have, I might have maps already. Yeah, so I have some maps already in the game. If you click on, if you added maps, they're here. You know, they're up in this tab here. So here's some different maps. Pretty creative, pretty straightforward though. Okay, so what you want to do for when you're adding a map. Now the best thing to add, for me, in my opinion, is a grid list map, because Roll20 already incorporates a grid and incorporates that for measuring. You can make that grid go away, or you can make it so light it's hard to see, or whatever. So what I generally do I already have a lot of stuff uploaded, so I just go to my library. But you can see, if you go to your library, it has a spot where you can upload graphics. So in that case, what you want to do is go over here to your toolbar. Up here where it says, this is your layers button, you want to go to map and background. And I'll tell you what, if you're on the objects and tokens button and you bring a map over, it'll be the size of 1 square or 1 hex, depending on if you have the hex set up. But if you're on the map layer and you bring a graphic over, it will be proportionate to the graphic that you brought over. So what you want to do is bring it up here, and if you want to make it bigger, which, you know, in this case you're going to almost always want to make it bigger, unless it's a, you know, small map. Anyway, so here's that map of the Sunset Vale I made in the oh, sorry about that, I made in the Incarnate. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go to, sorry, that's my fax machine. I'm going to go to the map settings, which is this little gear tab off the side of these little maps. So this little gear tab, I'm going to make the map a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it wider to about 50. And then I'm going to make it taller to, let's say, 40. And then, you know, it's going to take a little bit of, and you can use your scroll wheel to just zoom out on in a lot of cases. But okay, so it doesn't quite fit 40. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink it back down to, let's say, it looks like about 35, maybe. And you know, just kind of guess and go. Okay, so it's not 35. It's still going to be an off number, so it'll be 33. It looks like. There you go, 33. So then I go back to the settings, and in the settings you can pick the background color, which is, you know, up to you. I usually cover up the background so it's not seen, but sometimes you can't, so you know, sometimes I use a color. This changes the color of the actual map grid, and this changes the opacity. So like that, it's all yellow and very opaque. So if you want it, you know, if you want your map grid to be translucent, you would go the other way. So yeah, if you want to make your grid disappear altogether, you just put your opacity all the way down. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I usually like to make it a dark color, like dark gray or black, and turn the opacity part of the way up. For an overland map like this, I like to use the hex grid. So I will change the grids to hex type, which is right here, the type, grid type, square, change it to hex, and vertical in this case usually is what I do. You can turn on hex labels if you want. You can turn on, you can do the measurement hex path or Euclidean, so but I'm going to leave it hex path. And then this is an overland map, and if I had to guess right off the top of my head, Iriabor is about 60 miles from Osbraven, maybe 80. So I'm going to change this to miles, the unit measurement. And then I am going to change each hex to, let's say, 20 to start. Some of it's going to be a lot of guesswork and estimating. Oops, I forgot to increase the opacity on the grid. Okay, so we're going to change it to black, turn the opacity up, and save settings. There we go. So I got the opacity up probably a little too high, but this gives you an idea of where things can go with here. Okay, so then what you need to do is, so you got Iriabor to Osbraven, you know, it's, you know, essentially like a 2-day ride. Usually when I'm going measuring stuff arbitrarily, I turn on no snapping. If you have snapping on, then it will snap to the center. Or you can change it to snap to the corner. I usually do no snapping. You can also show to others or hide from others. You know, as a GM, you might want to do that. Hang on, I got to change this to red because I'm always red. That's how I am. So, so going from here to there is 137 miles currently, and it should be probably more like 60. So what I got to do is I got to go back to here. Currently, I have a distance of 20 miles. So I'm going to change that to 10 and see where we go with that. 69. That's not too bad. So for this map, that would be a good start. Let me show you a little bit different map. I'm going to turn the opacity down on this one just a hair, about a third, and maybe a little bit more than that, because I like it to be able to be visible, but I also like it to be give you some like view of the actual map. So there. So yeah, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Sunset Vale. It is an area in the Forgotten Realms. I'm working on a supplement for that. There'll be stuff about that as we go along. Not in this video. Since this is our first video, I'm just trying to get you guys familiar with Roll20. Okay, so a lot to work with and a lot to deal with, but there's so much. It's very strong utility. Foundry is also another good one. I don't have Foundry at the moment, but maybe I will get that and do a thing about that. So let's see. So let's do the training grounds. I'm gonna show you guys the training grounds. And I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Make the training grounds bigger. And that's about corner to corner. That works pretty good. Now, one of the things you'll notice is right here, the map already has a grid on it. And this is why I said that, you know, gridless is better in my opinion to start in Roll20. But you're definitely welcome to use grids in Roll20. So you can do, you can set the dimensions from here, like by right-clicking. And there's ways you can set it up to, if you go to the map, you can, I believe there's a way to set it up to line the grids up, but I haven't found that that works the greatest. So I see that these black grids are a little bit smaller than the white grids. And the white grid is, I believe, what's on the map. So let me check. Oh no, the gray grids, so it's a light gray, so that's what that is. So in that case, what I want to do is I want to turn the opacity to black, which creates another black grid. And you see, it can be confusing, especially when you start putting tokens on. I'll show you a token real quick. If you put a token on here, and put it on the token layer, because that would be important. So if you put a token on here, this is about the size of a token. Like that would be, you know, one grid square. However, you see how it's overlapping the other grid squares. That can cause a lot of confusion to players while they're trying to move their tokens, because they don't know really where they can move. So you can make your grid a different color if you want, and that might help alleviate some of the confusion. But what I like to do is increase the size a bit here, because it looks like the grid on the map is actually smaller than the grid on the Roll20. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and then I am going to go back to the map layer, and I'm going to hold down the shift key. I don't know why. I don't think it matters, but if I hold down the shift key, no. Okay, so it doesn't. So if you hold down the shift key, you can move it and shrink it and do whatever. If you let go of the shift key, it will stay proportionate. So that's one thing. Oh, sorry. At any rate, so what I want to do is I want to match the grid in the map to the grid on Roll20. So I get to where it looks like it's about the right size, vertically and horizontally. And unfortunately, the proportions of the map don't always match the proportions of the grid on Roll20. So what you need to do is you need to say, like, grab the corner of your map and move it like so till it fits in with the right size. That looks pretty close right there. Not 100% sure. But what I'll do is I'll hold the shift key and line it up. And there you go. The only problem is now that I've got it lined up like that, I don't know that it's going to snap to the right grid. But it did. If it doesn't, what you can do is, see how it's off kilter like that? You can hold the Alt key while you're moving things, and they will stay wherever it will stay wherever you want it once you release the Alt key. But if you hold the Alt key and you put it, you can adjust it to where the grids line up, and let go of the Alt key, and it's right where you want it. Now in this case, the map is far smaller than what I made the map be, the Roll20 area be, the work area. So, you know, of course I'm going to shrink it back down, and of course some of that is guesswork. So I'm going to take that back down to 30 and take this back down to about 30, because it does look like a square. And that was perfect. That's all that is. So up here in your toolbar, some of these things here. One of this thing is your select move and your pan view. Now, you can use the pan view even if it's on the select move. But what you want to do is you want to get off the map layer so you don't move your map around on accident. So you put yourself on the objects and tokens layer or the GM info layer. And that's this second box down. So I like to go to the objects and tokens layer next. And we'll zoom in by using our scroll wheel, or you can also use this handy tool over here, this zoom bar. And then what I'll do is I'll put a token on the map, and then line it up to the grid, and that is a 5x5 grid with 5x5. You know, with the tokens are 5x5. One of the things that when you're measuring on grids, a good reason to use the snap to center is because when you're measuring on grids for a character movement, you're essentially going from center to center. So one square, or from the center of one square to the center of the other square, is 5 feet. It's about the same if you're not snapping to go from the side to the other side. So there's 4.9. You know. Anyways, so when you're measuring between squares, you can go, you know, whatever. Another important thing to know is the way to do this with the arrow is you click on this ruler thing here. I always do the no snapping, or almost always do the no snapping. And then you left click and hold down, and you can drag it anywhere, like this. However, let's say you want to change angles. So you left click, go to here, then right click real quick, and let up the right click, like just one click. And then you can do that as many times as you need to make a line. One of the things a lot of people don't know about is if you're on the select and move thing, this arrow looking thing, you can right click, start to move your token, and then left click once real quick, and you can move like this. So that's 30 feet of movement, and then it moves your token there. And what everybody else sees is they see that token go up the screen like it just moved there slowly, kind of like it's tracking. It's kind of hard to explain, but you can do that all over. Like, it's pretty neat. Okay, so regardless, you'll notice these three dots up here, these 3 circles. There's a red one, a green one, and a blue one. If you zoom in, there's the green, blue, and red. Now, for this person, if I click on here, I don't have any characters in this thing because I created a new game. Well, I don't have any monsters either, so there's a problem there. And I'm not sharing any things. But Roll20 does come equipped with the system resource document. So while we're playing, or while we're messing around with this, you can go to here to this little music note with the lines, and go to Manage Audio. And we'll add. There's several things you can add. So first of all, you on playlists, you'll only have playlists if you have a playlist. But you go to tracks, and if you want to add a track, you can click to upload your own media files. Or you can go to like Tabletop Audio, or Battle Bards, or Incompetech. I don't know what that is. So what I would do is go to Tabletop Audio, and we're going to put fantasy and ambience in for search things. So there's a cavern, there's a spire. That's not what I want. I want to go. I want to search medieval town. Okay, so and there it is, medieval town by Tabletop Audio. So you go to Add to Game. And then this is a looping thing, so it'll just keep looping over and over. And while I'm showing you this, I'm going to turn it on, and you can listen to some medieval town noises. I'll turn it down a little bit so you guys can hear me talking still. I know you love the sound of my voice more than the medieval town, but you know. Okay, so I'll turn it down a little bit more. Okay, so anyways, that's good ambient noise for your game if you're in town. Regardless, we need to have monsters or creatures. So what I would normally go to up here is a compendium, but I don't have any compendiums shared. So what I have to do is I have to either share compendiums with this, or I might be able to use my transmogrifier to bring in a monster. So let's go to Dragon of Icefire Peak real quick. We'll go to characters, and we'll put a Banshee on there, and a Boar, and Branara, and that kind of thing. And hopefully that'll bring everybody over. But okay, so there's a Banshee. Okay, now if I click on this Banshee, you'll notice that she has 2 of these circles filled in. The green is set up as her hit points, and the blue is set up as her armor class. Now red, you can set it up for anything. You can set all these up for anything, but what I generally choose for the red is I usually click on that and go down to where it says Passive Wisdom, and that gives you their passive perception for, you know, or gives you an idea of what their passive wisdom would be. So, like, you don't have to ask another character, especially if there's a character, you don't have to ask that character what their passive perception is. Now, this is an NPC named Branara Stormseeker. She's a little smaller, but see, I already have her passive wisdom in, and it's 12. And if I double-click on her, it shows me what all her setup is. It's got a name. I got the nameplate showing. I've got it visible to every player. You can make these, all the bars, visible to every player. The only one I usually make visible to every player, though, is the health bar, which is green, and so I put C and visible to everyone. And the reason I do that is because that way, if you have a cleric in the party, the cleric can kind of see, you know, who's hurting. I mean, it is kind of a metagaming type thing, but you would generally know in your party, if you were out and about doing adventuring type stuff, you would get a feel, especially being an adventurer, you would get a feel for if your party member is hurt or not. And plus, you know, you would hear them or see them get hurt too. So, okay, so next thing I want to do is go and create a character. So I go up here to my journal and add a character, and it gives you a name. You don't have to use a name. You can make, and you can also make this bigger or smaller if you want. Can't grab the whole. There it is. There's the edge. Anyway, so we're gonna name this character New Guy. Well, we could name him New Girl, or you can name him whatever you want, really. If you want them in your players' journals, you would just add the players to your thing, or you can put them in all players' journals if you want, and it can be edited by all players. So that's how you can also just make one and call it character sheet. That's what I do for my players. Is I make one up, call it character sheet, or character sheet 1, character sheet 2, and so on. So let's do that for now. And then I hit save changes, and then it takes me to a character sheet page where there's bio and info, and you can edit that bio and info by going back to here and right here to these bio and info, and there's some GM notes. As a GM, you can put in your own notes, and these players can't see your GM notes. So anyway, so you get to that bio and info tab here, you just go up to this edit key. For attributes and abilities, it says attributes and abilities, right? The problem is, for some reason, this is not showing up with the system reference document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a player character sheet already in progress. So, oh no, that's interesting. Okay. Normally, oh, you know what it is? Okay. So this is going to be a good learning lesson for you guys. We're going to exit the game, because what I did is I forgot to add what type of character sheet I wanted. So I got to go back to game settings, which is this button here with the gear on it on the main page. And then you go to your settings and then compendium settings. And then it says none character sheet default, which should have been fine. Share my compendium with players. Sure, why not? And then this is all the different compendium things, plus I have those available. Character sheet template right here, that's the problem. So you're going to go down here. I'm going to find D&D 5e. If you notice, they have 13th Age, Burn Bright, Call of Cthulhu, all kinds of different character sheets, just like tons of them. This one, in this case, I'm going to do the D&D 5e by Roll20, which looks like a standard D&D 5e character sheet. Now over here, I'm going to set up use level 1 character master for new characters. So yes. The roll query says always roll advantage. I don't do that. I do advantage toggle. So it puts a little thing up here at the top of the sheet to where they can toggle between advantage and disadvantage and straight rolling. The whisper rolls to GM. You can do it how you want. You can set up never whisper rolls. You can set up whisper toggle or query whisper. Now, if I were going to do whisper any rolls, I would do query whisper, and that means between each roll it asks you if you want it to whisper it to you. Or you can do always whisper rolls if you're into hiding all your rolls. Me, I always do never whisper rolls because I like the players to see what I rolled, and I don't like fudging rolls. And there is auto roll damage and crit, and there's don't auto roll damage. So what I do is leave it on don't auto roll damage. You know it's an extra step when you're playing, but I like it that way. So proficiency bonus is added. Core die roll is a d20. There are other options you can add in here, different things. You can use an encumbrance variant, or you can use simple encumbrance. Simple encumbrance is better in some ways. Variant encumbrance is like if you're going to use the variant encumbrance rule from Player's Handbook, page 176 is what it says right there even. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of ums. Okay, so I'll allow public access to the games in case people want to. You can allow people to import their own characters. The game background image, they only have 3 available. I don't know if there's a way to set it up to where you can import your own background images just yet, but it's neither here nor there. It doesn't need a background image. I usually also on these, I do the add dex tiebreaker to initiative, show global save modifier field, show global skill modifier field, attack modifier field, and damage modifier field. I usually turn on add character name to templates, auto level calculations. So that's on, which is what I like it to be. But okay, so regardless, I'm going to move on and back into our game here. So it's saved. I'm going to go back to the game. Oh, it says it may not be saved. Let me make sure it's saved. It says okay, yeah, okay, there, it's saved. So I'm just going to leave game. It's just warning me again, apparently. So I'm going to launch the game back up. And theoretically, it should still be playing. Yep, there we go. So it's playing the music, ambient music still. You can also set different ambient music to start on different pages. So if I go to this map here, where it says play on load, I could put in a soundtrack in here. And so when we move to that map, it would automatically switch to the new soundtrack. Maybe I should give you a demo of that. But okay, so going back to the characters. So here's Bernara again. And now you'll notice she has a thing called character sheet. And there's her character sheet. Now she's already made, but we're going to go to character sheet 1, which now also has a character sheet. I don't know what kind of character I would like to make per se, but what we're going to do is we're going to use the character mancer for that. And then I'm going to hit next. We'll choose a race. You can also do the customize your origin thing by clicking on here. It's a little different, but I wish it was integrated a little bit better for the customize your origin thing. And I wish that the race thing was a little bit better integrated. But okay, so there's different ones we can use. You can use a bugbear. You can use some monster races from Volo's Guide to Monsters, or Eberron's, or not Eberron's, Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. You can use the Aarakocra, an Azamar, a Goliath, a Hobgoblin. So anyway, so let's create a Hobgoblin. And then it shows you the ability score increases automatically. And if you move up, you can see they're already in the ability score places. So it lets you, gives you an idea. Our Hobgoblin is going to be, let's make him neutral good. He's not like most normal Hobgoblins. He's kind of, you know, his own, marches to the beat of his own drum, so to speak. Right now we have him as a fighter, but maybe that's just because Hobgoblins. Oh no, we don't have him as a fighter. Okay, so Hobgoblins, apparently they get a weapon proficiency right out the gate, so that's kind of cool. So let's just give him the martial weapon proficiency, and we'll give him how about a heavy crossbow? And there's some abilities, languages. You can speak Common and Goblin, Dark Vision, Saving Face. Hobgoblins are careful not to show weakness in front of their allies for fear of losing status. If you miss it with an attack roll or fail an ability check or saving throw, you can gain a bonus to the roll equal to the number of allies you can see within 30 feet of you. It's kind of like Pack Tactics, to a maximum bonus of +5. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So that's kind of a cool little Saving Face ability thing. So for the class, obviously they'd make great fighters, right? Because, because obviously, and they already start out with martial stuff. But let's make a wizard. Why not? And we'll go to skill proficiencies. You don't see many Hobgoblin wizards, I don't think. And we'll go to give him. Well, he's a wizard, so let's give him history, and I think I'm going to get Arcana automatically, so let's give him history, and how about insight? Okay, so then it tells you about your cantrips, and you know, all this stuff is basically from Player's Handbook type, or the system reference document, system resource document, whatever you want to call it. So here it gives you the choice for your ability score method. You can do standard array, and you just pick them out, like you assign, you know, whatever to wherever. And or you can do roll for stats, which is roll 4d6, drop the lowest. It's your standard option. So if you roll it, oh, I should probably have this open because then it shows what you rolled. It also shows what you rolled here, and then you just pick and do whatever. Now, one of the things I don't like about Roll20, about the roll for stats 4d6 drop the lowest, is I like the macro that does 4d6 drop the lowest and re-roll ones. So that's on a different thing, however. So let me try this here. So there's a site, it's a Wikipedia, and it might even be on Roll20. It's called Useful Macros Roll20. So there we are. So if you go to D20 based systems, then you got this here, and it's an easy roll, good attributes macro. So I'm going to go back to our Roll20 here, and I'm going to put in custom. Now you can do point by, it is right there, so you can do point by. But I'm going to put in custom, then I'm going to go over here to the journal, and in the chat window down here, which you can also change the size of your chat window too, by the way. Ooh, it's a little too big. Okay, so in the chat window, I'm going to paste the Roll20 macro from the useful macros page, which is, you'll notice it's 4d6, reroll ones, drop the lowest one. And then hit return, It gives you a little template even. You can actually set it up to be like a D&D template even. So those ability scores, to me, even with a low 8, are still much better than these ability scores here. Not by a lot, but by enough that it makes a difference to me. So here we've got a 15, a 13, a 10, a 7, a 9. I mean, your low is a 7 here. And you've also got a 9 and an 8. Here you've got 14, 11, 12, 14, 16. A lot of people won't play with these, even this low of ability scores. However, there's plenty of cool stuff to be had here. So he's a wizard, so I'm going to make his intelligence 16, because that's the one we used from over here. And he also gets +1 intelligence, so he'll be at 17 intelligence. Next, we might as well get that good constitution, because he has already a +2 constitution, so we'll put one of the 14s there. I want to put a 14 in his strength also. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, actually, let's put the 8 in his strength, and we'll put the 14 in his dex, and you'll see why in a minute here. So the wisdom will be left with, let's do 12, and we'll make his charisma his other lower stat, which will be an 11. Okay, so why do we make his strength his dump stat? Well, he's a wizard, and he doesn't necessarily have to rely on strength. I was thinking that maybe we would make a blade singer wizard. Well, then that might be good to have a strength, right? Well, we can also use a scimitar and use dexterity as our main stat. So that's what I was thinking there. So background, you get all these backgrounds. Some of them come from different books. If you don't have the books, you won't have the background. So if you notice, I don't have Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, so there's going to be certain things missing, like the Purple Knight or the Purple Dragon Knight, and certain things like that. I have a couple other things like Tales of the Old Margrave, which is about a forest, and so you get Forest Dweller and a couple other things, Feral One, a couple other things like that. It's really cool. But since this is a wizard and a blade singer, I'm either thinking soldier or sage. But we could just kind of chicken out and go with folk hero. So he gets a proficiency in land vehicles, of course. Then he also gets to pick a tool. Since it's a wizard, I will pick alchemist or calligrapher. How about calligrapher? Figure he'll be writing some scrolls. It'll save him some spell slots. Defining event. Now, all the defining events you can roll, which is for a character like this, I may just roll. For NPCs, I definitely roll just because it's fun that way sometimes. Sometimes you'll get traits that don't seem to go together at all, which is a fun way to figure out how to play them in a quirky sort of way. So, I trained the peasantry to use farm implements as weapons against tyrant soldiers. It reminds me sort of my family history there. Anyway, long story. So this is personality traits. Now, in here you get to roll 2, and I think in D&D Beyond you also get to roll 2. So I always do roll 2. Or pick 2, because you can pick them also. If your DM doesn't allow you to pick them, then go with the rules. But I always allow my players to pick. How would you like to choose your equipment? So I like to go with class equipment. I feel like you get more bang for your buck that way, especially if you choose starting wealth and you get a really low roll. But there's an option you could choose starting wealth. Quarterstaff and dagger. We'll go with a dagger since he's a blade singer, right? We'll give him a component pouch or an arcane focus. We'll give him an arcane focus, and we'll give him the explorer's pack instead of the scholar's pack. Now that's kind of strange, but set of artisan's tools, since since we gave him calligraphy as a toolkit skill, we'll give him calligrapher supplies. Wizard cantrips. This is the fun part where you get to decide what you want your wizard to start off with cantrip wise. So, what are we going to start off with? Good question. Do we want to go with utility, or do we want to go with something else? Now, I'm not that familiar with the Blade Singer yet. This is the first one I've created. But let's go with Green Flame Blade, just in case. Just in case it will be able to be tied in with the Blade Singer. So Green Flame Blade is you brandish a weapon in the spell casting and make a melee attack against one creature within 5 feet of you. On a hit, the target suffers the weapon attack's normal effects, and you can cause green fire to leap from the target to a different creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of it. The second creature takes the fire damage equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. The spell's damage increases when you reach certain levels. At 5th level, the melee attack deals an extra 1d8 fire damage to a target on a hit, and the fire damage to the second creatures increases to 1d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. So it's a pretty cool little cantrip. Okay, so then I do like Create Bonfire for that quick use, but what I really like instead of Create Bonfire is Prestidigitation. I know Create Bonfire is more of a spell that you can use to actually attack with, but Prestidigitation will start a fire for that utility. I don't know what Sword Burst is. You create a momentary circle of spectral blades that sweep around you. All other creatures within 5 feet of you must make a must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 1d6 force damage. That's kind of cool, but might go along good with our Blade Singer. Let's just use it. So Absorb Elements is a kind of a good first level spell. Now I'm gonna look at Chromatic Orb real quick, and I don't know if your DM requires it, but as far as raw goes, even if you have a focus, you have to have a diamond worth at least 50 gold pieces on you. At first level, that's not very likely. Some DMs go, well, if you have a component pouch, it has that in there. However, 50 gold pieces is a lot, and giving a first level character 50 gold pieces to just go spend is, an extra 50 gold, I should say, to just go spend is kind of like, could be like changing. However, then they wouldn't be able to cast Chromatic Orb either. The gem is not consumed. The diamond is not consumed in the casting, as far as I can tell. Regardless, I like Burning Hands. This is my favorite first level spell. Is Magic Missile. That should be everybody's favorite first level spell, in my opinion. But that's just me. Catapult is also really cool. I want to take Chromatic Orb, but what I'll probably do is I'll come back and take Chromatic Orb later, because then I'll be more likely to have 50 gold pieces to buy that diamond. So Flawless Life is nice. Identify is nice because it's utility. However, since I will hopefully get Arcana, something out of that, I'm going to cast Shield because I'm a little squishy probably. And I'm going to also take... It's hard not to take Detect Magic for me. So, okay, so that's... You guys can pick whatever you want. And so I know this is a little bit slower than probably what we need to be, but... So there's our stats. 8, 14, 16, 17, 12, and 11. I'm going to name our character. Usually I go to Fantasy Name Generator. But we'll name him Bryn. B-R-I-N. Oh, wait, no, that's too close to Brian, isn't it? Okay, so let's name him... Always tough with the names. Usually I go to Fantasy Name Generator, like I said, but... I mean, you can name him whatever, but, I'll name him Elfenthar. I don't know why. We'll say he's Oh, actually, he was a hobgoblin, right? So let's name him. Let's name him Gurok. See, taking the race into account. Name the age would be. I think hobgoblins age similar to humans, so let's say he's 30. 32. Let's make it a funky number. And we'll say he's 5 foot 8 inches because I'm 5 foot 8 inches. We'll say he's 185 pounds because I wish I was 185 pounds. I give him green eyes, black hair, skin. We'll say mottled greenish color. And then hit next. And then here it is, the review of the whole thing. And you can see whether or not anything is missing. It will also highlight in red if you missed something or if you've doubled up on something. So, for instance, if you picked Arcana and you have Arcana from your background, it'll say you picked Arcana as a proficiency, but you already have it from your background, so it'll give you the chance to go back and change it. But in this case, we're just going to apply changes. Now I thought at first level you picked your school, but maybe not. So we'll give him 2300, which I think is enough to go to like 3rd level. But and then you'll notice this little anvil and hammer appear here. So click on that, and it takes you back to the character manager to level him up. You can roll for hit points right here. And roll a 1 and do terrible like me. Or, excuse me, I'm trying to get that to the right side. That's too big. Oh, there we go. So you can roll for hit points there. Why is it not showing up? Maybe I made that too big. Oh, that's why. Oh, yep, I made it too big. Goodness gracious. I'm sure there's probably a way to get this back to the normal size. The easy way or whatever, but okay, so that's the roll of a 1. Or you can actually type in /R1d6, which, you know, is the die type for a wizard, and then it can roll it in there. So I hate taking a 1, but you know, that's what I rolled, so that's what I'm going to take at this point. And we're going to pick Blade Singing, and that's from Tasha. So you have to own Tasha's in order to use that in Roll20, or you have to put it in all by hand, which is a little bit more difficult. So there's the Blade Singing Wizard options and abilities. And here's the cantrips. You can add 2 new spells. You've already got your 3 cantrips. So at 2nd level, you get another 1st level spell. You get another, actually 2, and you get to choose 2 more spells. So as a Blade Singing Wizard, Shield is nice to have, but it's only until the beginning of the next turn. So Mage Armor is a must, in my opinion. And then something like Fog Cloud would be nice. Unseen Servant, Thunderwave, Witch Bolt. I don't know. This might be a that's from a different source. So let's see. Our mage isn't that tough yet, but so let's take let's take, instead of taking Expeditious Retreat, let's take False Life, which will give you, some extra hit points. And apply changes. So I believe it's 300 to 1st level, 900 to 2nd level, I'm not sure. Or 300 to 2nd level and 900 to 3rd level, I think. I can't remember. So anyway, so we're going to level up as high as we can go with that. So here, it gives you the average also. You can always take the average if your DM will let you, instead of rolling. So because when you roll, you get 2. So if your DM will let you, take the average. So sometimes for about the first 6 levels, I allow my players to roll or take the average, whichever is higher. So that way they get a better chance at having some nice hit points for the first 3 to 6 levels. Depends on the game. Sometimes I'll only allow it for the first 3, but you also get, you know, max hit points at first level, which it already accounts for. So there is that. Okay, so we're back to the spell picking thing, but now we have level 2 spells to pick from. Now, Aganazar's Scorcher is awesome, but if you notice in the components, if you're using components, it takes a Red Dragon scale. Okay, now in whatever campaign you're in, Red Dragon scales might be readily available. In my campaigns, they are usually not, and if they are, they're usually in a larger city, and you have to buy them from like an apothecary or an herbalist, or you know, somebody who carries magical sundries and components and such like that. And they would be quite expensive probably, because a Red Dragon scale, it says a Red Dragon scale, so it could be a baby dragon scale, so it could be like something small. But a Red Dragon scale, I might even allow to use a piece of it, but for one scale, I would probably charge close to 10 gold. I mean, again, that's just me, and depends on what your DM's doing at that point. Instead of Aganazar's Scorcher, let's look at Snowball Swarm. It's a range of 90 feet and does 3d6 cold on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. It is one action. Now, one of the things we want to do is we want to look at concentration stuff, because we do have a 16 constitution. So if there's anything that you want to have that is a concentration spell, like Dragon's Breath, that might be a good spell to have too. Or Blindness, Deafness, I believe is. Nope, that's not a concentration. It's a duration, which is even better. But so regardless, what I will probably do is I will take. I'm going to take Dragon's Breath. Even though I've got Burning Hands, so I don't really need that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a Crowd Control spell, which is Darkness in this case. And apply changes. Okay. And you've seen it disappear. So we're at level 3. So 2300 takes you to level 3, and that's it. You could go and add more experience or whatever as your GM allows you to. Or sometimes your GM can set it up to where he adds the experience for you, but it's not always good. And you're always going to have to use experience points as far as I know, even if you milestone. But if you're milestoning, you just add your experience to the beginning of the next level. So that's how you just do that. You'll see he starts out with a dagger, a spell book, a shovel, like some other stuff from the Explorers thing, hemp and rope, is arcane focused. You'll notice I don't have Arcana, which I wish I would have picked now. But that's okay. So yeah, this is basically a character sheet setup. I think that is probably about it. But what we need to do though is let's take our Hobgoblin. Let's see if we can find a Hobgoblin. See, now I have a compendium thing. So let's look for a Hobgoblin and see if he's got yeah, he's got a token. So we put that token on the page there, and there's a Hobgoblin. But let's get rid of that one because that looks like a warrior. And I mean, we could look like a warrior, but well, let's put a Hobgoblin Devastator on the page because the Hobgoblin Devastator is essentially a caster. And since we made a Blade Singing Wizard, I want to use a caster looking token. So there's that. So here's the Hobgoblin Devastator. So I'm going to double click on that. But where it says Hobgoblin Devastator, where it says represents character, I'm going to get rid of that and change it to represents character Gurok. Show the nameplate, let everybody see it, and change this. It's already gonna change his hit points and all that, but change this bottom one to passive wisdom. It's all alphabetical too, by the way. So NPC persuasion. Oh, I went too far. There it is, passive wisdom, and then save. And then there we go. There's our character Gurok, and he's a blade singer. So under here, if you're the GM, you can also put GM notes in, and you can also use dynamic lighting. Now, dynamic lighting is the token has vision. The token has night vision, 60 feet, and you can limit their field of vision to. I usually use 165 degrees if I'm going to limit it, because you got to figure that people are going to be like looking back and forth. But I know a lot of people have a problem with that, so I don't always limit the field of vision anymore. I just don't. So you can have the token emit light, and you can not. So let me show you what dynamic lighting looks like. So we're going to switch this page right here that we're on, and we're going to say it's dynamic lighting, and turn dynamic lighting on. And you can say it's daylight, which will help for this. But let's go nighttime, and then you can see what's going on here. Also, for the dynamic lighting, you can go to GM darkness opacities. So for you as a GM, you can get a better sense of what it looks like dark. That's Renara being able to see, so let's get rid of her. Okay, so Gurok can't see. I don't know why. He has vision, and he has night vision. Oh, his limit field of vision is on, that's why. Okay, so save settings. So now Gurok can see up to 60 feet. So if you look and you use your snap to center thing, it's about 60 feet. Going diagonal is wonky because squares diagonally don't measure exactly the same. You're missing like an extra 2 feet or 2 inches or 7 inches or so. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. Regardless, you're missing an amount of space, and it would actually be longer distance to go from here to here than it would be from here to here. You can even look at it and see, like, why is this 20 feet when this is 20 feet? Regardless, I usually I measure by squares. So they could go there, or they could go there. You get to move 4 squares is essentially how I have it. Some people use a hex grid just to avoid that. Doesn't matter. However you want to do it, that's up to you. So anyways, what I was going to do is, you can see the dynamic lighting, and you can see how he moves, and you can see what. Now over here, you can kind of see it on my screen or on the screen you're watching. But if I want to see what Gurok sees, or the player that's controlling Gurok sees, I click on his token, and I hit Control L. So basically, anything out of Gurok's field of vision, he cannot see at all. The other thing you can do with his token is go to the dynamic lighting, and for his night vision effect, you can pick dimming, and you can start his dimming at like 30 feet, and then that way, essentially, it's like he's seeing 30 feet of it is, well, here, let me just put 30. 30 feet of it is bright, and then 30 feet is dim, but that's how it looks. It's kind of cool that way, to me. So when you move Gurok, he can still see those areas, but they're dim to him, which is how I think it would be more realistically if everything was just completely pitch black dark. So we're going to take off him so we can see the rest of our map. I'll adjust the opacity a little bit too, so you guys make sure you guys can see that if you're watching. You make sure you guys can see the rest of the map. So I'm going to lower that just a hair. There we go. Alright, so then what I'm going to show you is some things about dynamic lighting. Okay, these are some stairs. It's fine that if Gurok sees the stairs to me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the layers tab, which is the second box down on your toolbar. Right here, layers, and then go down to dynamic lighting. And once you're on dynamic lighting, go to the paintbrush and click polygon line. It'll give you a color that you can pick from. You can pick whatever color that you want to use. For walls and such like that, I usually use a neutral color or a dark color like black or brown. Um, anyways, so Gurok is actually on the ground. And I'm going to start a line here. And go to here. And follow this wall around. To there. I'm going to stop there because I'm going to assume that Gurok can see it's a staircase. But now that I've right-clicked, it blocks that off from his line of sight. So now he cannot see past the top of the staircase. So that little bearing wall type thing, a little parapet type wall or whatever you want to call it. And then this here looks like a wall to me. I'm not 100% sure that it is, but it looks like a wall, or at least a half wall. And so maybe you pick one side or the other, and you make a line on one side or the other by left clicking. Here, let me redo that so you can see. So what I did is I left click once, and then I left click again up here because I'm on the polygon. Remember, I'm on the polygon line tool. And once I've got the polygon line tool and I don't want to continue it any further, I right click, and then that sets it. It sets it up for the lighting. So if I go back to the objects and tokens layer, now Gurok cannot see past this wall, but if I move Gurok, he can see around it. And then once he's on this side, he can't see past it the other direction. And that's basically how dynamic lighting works. Now you can get really intricate, and you could, say, well, these test dummies, these practice dummies, they would block light too, right? So you could make like a little dot on their heads if you wanted, and kind of go out to their shoulders a little bit if you wanted. I mean, it's however you want to do it, really. You could do freehand. Well, you could say, well, these boxes aren't that tall, but these boxes are stacked too high, so maybe they would block some light. So you draw a shape thing and pick a square, right? Put a square on there, and then you can't see past that box. And this box is really tall, so put a square on that box. And then now when you bring when you go back to the objects and tokens, you bring Gurok down, he can't see past those boxes. They block his line of sight, whatever angle he's at. And you can tell what his line of sight is by looking at whatever angle he is aiming at, which this really helps in dynamic lighting if you're looking at cover. So if the Banshee is behind this box, that's full cover, But if Gurok happens to move, then the Banshee's only got like maybe 3/4 cover, so it's a +5 AC. Or if Gurok moves really good, then totally out of cover. Or the other thing, remember when I was talking about the Alt key? If you hold down the Alt key, you can move between squares. And that's up to your DM if he is going to allow that or not. But now the Banshee only has partial cover, so maybe +2 AC. So there's that. Let me put this into sort of a practice to where we can kind of show you how combat would work. So I'm going to go to Gurok's page here and show you Gurok's page, and go to the character sheet. Shrink that just a hair if we can. And then I will open the. I think he's at level 3. I still don't think he's tough enough for a Banshee, so I'm gonna put him up against this boar here. And the boar sheet will come up like this. Now, generally speaking, I don't have them over the map like this. If you'll notice, there is a little box right here, and that is a pop-out window. Also, I wouldn't suggest you take your character sheets and always use the pop-out window. But when you want to, the pop-out window comes in really handy, especially if you're the GM, to get the character sheets or the monster stat blocks off the map. So I'm going to set these up like so, right? And kind of show you what goes on with this, and then turn that back to the chat window so you can see all the rules. So a combat would basically be like, okay, so you roll initiative. And when you're rolling initiative, one of the things that's great about Roll20 is you can bring up an initiative tracker or a turn order. So in order to roll initiative for Gurok, you want to click on Gurok's token, and then where it says initiative on a sheet, click it. And you'll see it come up into the right-hand corner there. And he rolled a 19, so he's doing pretty good. The boar, however, will roll his initiative by clicking on him and then clicking on his initiative. He rolled an 18, just under Gurok, which is really good for a boar. So Gurok only basically has a dagger, but that is a finesse weapon, I believe. And either way, it can be used with finesse like dexterity. So since Gurok goes first, if you mouse over him in the turn order, you can see who's going when. That can allow for a little bit of metagaming, but it's also can be very useful. Also, you can set it up to where they can't see the square, if I remember correctly. So Gurok moves over here, and he is a Bladesinger, so he could probably easily dispatch of a boar, even just using a dagger, especially at 3rd level. But instead, he elects as a spellcaster to cast Magic Missile. So you go over here on your main page, and you can find Magic Missile right there. Or you can go to your spells page, and you'll see that Magic Missile is right here. Now, one of the things you'll notice is he's got 4 spell slots for 1st level. And this is slots remaining. So you'll want to keep track of your spell slots by putting these up to the correct amount of spell slots. So once he casts Magic Missile, you can click on it. And then it comes over here, it says it does 3 force damage. It always hits, so it doesn't have to have an attack roll. However, when you cast Magic Missile, you cast 3 Magic Missiles, so you're going to have to do it 3 times. So he did 3, 5, and 2. So 3, 5 is 8, plus 2 is 10. And that will take the boar's health, and he only has an 11, and you just go up here, click on the green thing, and it'll bring up this little bar. And in that little bar, you just type in -10, and you'll see that leaves him with 1 hit point. But now Gurok's action is over, and the boar has a chance to do something now. So you advance this little arrow to the boar, and now it's the boar's turn. And the boar, I'm going to have him make a wisdom check, which is kind of like checking for morale. For some reason, he's at advantage. He shouldn't be at advantage because we did already adjust that. But if you find that everybody's whispering rolls, see, it's whispering rolls. So if you find out that he's at advantage, you go to advantage toggle, and you go to never whisper rolls like I like it. Don't auto roll damage, so add dex tiebreaker to initiative, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, so we got it set up like that. So you roll a 12, because if you happen to find yourself at advantage or disadvantage, just always take the first number. It always gives you the first number it rolled. So he makes a 12 wisdom check. Now, on a 12 wisdom check, it's over a DC 10. I would think even a boar with a relatively low wisdom, you can see their wisdom is only 9. That's still kind of average-ish, almost. But I would still say that a boar would think, hey, I'm out of here, and just run away. So, you'd probably want to have your boar run at that point. However, this boar is just got an intelligence of 2, and he's angry, and he's hurt, and he feels cornered because this box is behind him, right? So instead, he moves forward and attacks. So we're going to have him move forward and attack with his tusks. He rolls a 19, which, looking at here, you can see his armor class, or you can go back to his core page, or ask your player, what's your armor class. So that's 12. So a 19 will definitely hit. And then you go back over here to the chat window, and where it says Tusk, you click on it, and it shows you how much damage you did. That's 2 damage to him. So you click on the green thing, the bar comes up, you type in -2, adjust the hit points automatically. And then you can see it's not going well for the boar. So the boar, even though he's hurt, he attempts to flee because, well, that's what boars might do because they're animals, and they're not the brightest, but they also don't want to die. So so he attempts to flee. But since he's attempting to flee, he gets to about there, and Gurok takes out his dagger and attempts to make an attack of opportunity. Now he only swings with a 10, and for some reason he's not got advantage on 2, but he shouldn't have. So let me go back to here, and we're gonna add his dex tiebreaker next. And why is he? Okay, so there's a. I'm gonna show all these because they should be shown. I don't know why, because I clicked to miss show, but maybe I had to reset it once I added the compendiums. For advantage and disadvantage, that is where. Right here. Roll queries. Always roll advantage. So we're gonna do advantage toggle, and never whisper rolls. Okay, and then we can go back to their core sheet, and then you can see it says normal now. But at a 10, he would have missed the boar. So the boar, you know, he can't dash because he already used his action to attack. But the boar can move. He only moved 5 feet, so he can move another 35 feet. At which point, it would be Gurok's turn. Now Gurok, you know, might feel sorry for the boar and just let him go, you know. But considering Gurok attacked the boar first, maybe he just wanted to have you know, bacon for lunch. So you know, he casts another magic missile, and that would be his second magic missile. So we're going to take away 2 slots and go back to the core sheet. And you'll see he did 5 plus 3 plus 5, which is 13, which is more than enough to kill this boar. Now, one of the ways you want your players to know that something is dead is to show that it's dead. There's a lot of little icons down here that you can choose from. I usually use this skull with a skull and crossbones to show that it's dead. Sometimes you use that for poison, but usually I use this one. This is a skull in a puddle for poison. But I usually use a skull, but that's always not always like super visible, especially if you zoom way out on the map. So I also use this red X to show that they're dead. There are also settings here that you can just click on to adjust the dynamic lighting, adjust details, GM notes, etc., etc., etc. If you want to get to this quickly, though, however, you just double-click the token. And that's about it for now on Roll20. And hope you guys like this first video on Action Search. I know it probably ran a little long. Like I said, new. So hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself.